Alright guys, welcome back to the first update on Typhoon Doksuri, which has unexpectedly re-intensified. Of course, it did make landfall over the northern Philippine Islands with winds of 150 miles per hour. It did peak with winds of 150 miles per hour. It made landfall a bit weaker, I believe it was 140. But it has started to re-intensify rather unexpectedly. The conditions weren't expected to be too favourable, but it turns out, nope, they are pretty favourable. Look at the inflow coming in there. It's some crazy inflow. Still, Philippine Islands, the northern Philippine Islands, getting loads of rainfall from this system, and it's likely going to make landfall in China. I don't think it will make landfall at the forecasted peak, which is now 130 miles per hour, which is very strong. I don't think it will make landfall at intensity, but it very well could do. I think it will make landfall a bit weaker, maybe 120 to 125, but I guess we'll see. It's definitely the run-up to landfall at this point. It definitely depends on what happens within the next few hours, really, with the storm structure and how it really evolves. But it's kind of crazy how when it was approaching the Philippine Islands, it had a giant eye, and now it's just reversed into a pinhole eye. That is something I've never actually seen before. It's honestly incredible. And you can very clearly see that pinhole eye surrounded by very tall cloud tops indeed. Currently the storm has maximum sustained winds of 115 miles per hour with maximum gusts up to 140 miles per hour, so very powerful wind gusts there. A pressure of 945 millibars is moving northwest at 13 miles per hour, and the expected peak from the JTWC, of course, is 130 miles per hour, which it probably will reach. However, you don't know if it will reach it until it does reach it, so I guess we'll see what happens within these next few hours. Take a look at estimates. ATCF going 120, JTWC 120 currently. The Curtis Simplified going with 150, and ADT going with 105 currently, which is a bit weaker than, of course, everyone else on this list. Take a look at the JTWC forecast screen here. You could see 105 knots, and look at that peak, 115 knots, 130 miles per hour with gusts up to 160. So very powerful stuff if it does make landfall at that intensity. And you can see the storm's track there when it passed through very northern Luzon, barely missing the mainland Luzon, hitting some of the northern islands. Still as a very powerful storm, but I guess we'll see what happens with this storm. It could really get to 130 miles per hour, which would be very powerful, very dangerous. And I guess we'll just see. It's really dependent, like I said, what happens within these next few hours with the storm structure. Here are the global models here, ECMWF, NavGem and GFS, and you can see the track and the timing's pretty underway at this stage. The storm's probably going to make landfall under 24 hours at this stage, and it is going to make landfall pretty soon, probably within the next maybe like 16 hours. It's not going to be that long until the storm does make landfall, and then you can see where it tracks off after that. Here's the satellite imagery, true color this is, and you can still see that inflow. I mean, that is crazy. That inflow just wrapping around into the storm there. The Philippine Islands, northern Luzon especially, still getting loads of rainfall feeding in from this storm system. Of course, we do have a new tropical depression which has recently formed in the Western Pacific, and that's expected to reach 130 miles per hour as well. So storms what are forming right now are getting big in the Western Pacific. This is just because conditions have been so good for quite a while now, and I guess we'll see what happens. You can see Taiwan there as well getting some rainfall, but China's going to be getting the majority of the hit from this system. Here's the RGB or water vapor imagery, and you can see the blues, basically the blues and whites, very good moisture. The darker colors, pretty dry air. And you can see, I mean, it's just feeding itself at this point. I mean, the storm is just literally so big that it's pulling in inflow from all over the place, especially from the South China Sea, and that's really helping to keep those water vapor levels high. Really good moisture, and it's probably going to stay at that all the way until landfall. Yeah, really, that's basically it. It's still a very powerful storm system. It's going to make landfall probably in China within less than 24 hours, and it'll probably make landfall as a very strong storm indeed, probably with gusts to well over 130 miles per hour. Anyway, thank you for watching this update. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next update. Peace out.